dream it all. Listen close and join my song. Gentle stories all night long. Snuggle in and rest your head. Magic dreams will now be spread. Close your eyes so calm and bright. Now begins our dream. Begins our dream tonight.
Lulu and the Clocktower of Whispering Winds. The town lay asleep under a sky of pale clouds. No wind stirred the rooftops. No chime rang from the towers. Even the trees seemed frozen in a quiet breath. Lulu trotted softly down the cobblestone street, her hooves making tiny echoes in the still air. The silence felt so deep it seemed to hold its own heartbeat. At the end of the street rose an old clock tower, tall and silver gray, its hands frozen just past midnight. The great bell at its top hung motionless, though Lulu could sense that once. It must have sung songs across the valley. Now the tower merely watched the night without moving, like a giant who had forgotten how to wake. Lulu tilted her head. "Why doesn't it tick?" she whispered. A faint shimmer drifted along the stones beside her, a swirling puff of mist that took the shape of a fox. Its eyes were soft blue, glowing faintly, and its body flickered as if made of breeze and memory. "Because the wind is lost," said the fox gently. "Without it, the hours sleep. Without hours, the dreams cannot travel." Lulu blinked. "Who are you?" The fox bowed his misty head. "I am Arin, or what's left of him. I used to guide the whispering winds through this tower. But one night, the winds grew quiet. I tried to call them back, but they forgot my voice." His form dimmed briefly, his tail flickering out before reforming. Now time has stopped, and the bells no longer sing. Lulu's will quivered as she looked up at the frozen hands of the clock. "Then we should help you find your voice again." A soft sound came from the shadows of the square, a faint ticking, irregular and weak. From beneath the tower's base stepped a figure of shimmering glass. Inside her chest, a small pendulum swung slowly, glowing gold with each beat. She looked fragile yet unbreakable, her hair flowing like strands of fine wire. "I heard your promise," she said, her voice melodic but faintly echoing, like time itself speaking through crystal. "I am Maeve, the clockmaker of this tower. My gears still turn, but they cannot move the hands without the wind's breath." Arin dipped his head respectfully. "You kept the heart of the tower alive." Maeve nodded. "Barely, but perhaps tonight, with help, it can sing again." Lulu stepped between them, eyes shining with determination. "Then we'll find the whispering winds. Where do we start?" Maeve looked toward the horizon. "In the valley of echoed hours," she said, "where time collects when it forgets to move." Arin's tail curled like smoke. "If the winds sleep there, We must be careful. Time dreams strangely. Lulu smiled softly, feeling the first stir of adventure tingle through her wool. Then let's wake the hours together. The frozen clock tower loomed above, silent but watching, as if listening to her words. And for a moment, just a breath, the faintest chime rang from its heart, an echo of a promise made. Beyond the clock tower, the streets melted into a soft gray mist. Lulu followed the faint glow from Maeve's chest, the gentle swing of her pendulum lighting the path ahead. Aaron drifted above the ground, his tail curling through the fog like threads of wind that had forgotten how to dance. The further they walked, the quieter the world became. No crickets, no rustling trees, not even the whisper of grass. The valley of echoed hours lies where the wind first learned to speak, Aaron said softly, but without song, even the echoes sleep. Maeve's glass body reflected the dim starlight. It's strange, she murmured. I can hear the seconds that used to be, like little footsteps far away, but they fade the moment I try to follow them. Lulu's ears twitched. Maybe they're waiting for us to bring sound back. As they descended into the valley, the mist thinned. The land opened into a wide hollow surrounded by cliffs, their faces etched with ancient clock faces carved in stone. Each one was cracked, its hands missing or broken. Between them, silver grass swayed without wind, moving as if remembering what it once felt like. In the center of the valley stood a great hourglass, half buried in the earth. The sand within it shimmered faintly but did not fall. Lulu stepped closer and peered inside. The grains of sand looked like tiny lights, frozen stars. Maeve pressed her palm to the glass. These are the lost hours, she whispered. Moments that never finished. If we can set them free, the winds will find their rhythm again. Aaron circled the hourglass, his misty body glowing faintly. The wind will not answer unless it feels movement. We must stir it awake. Lulu frowned softly. How do we move what time has forgotten? Maeve looked at her pendulum, still swinging faintly, with rhythm. She placed her hand on the glass and began to tap slow, deliberate beats that echoed faintly in the hollow air. Aaron added his breath, a soft sigh that rippled across the sand like a whisper. Lulu listened, then began to hum, her tone low and soothing. At first, nothing changed. Then one grain of sand shifted. Another followed. Slowly, the lights within the hourglass began to move, hesitant, uneven, then steadier, like a heartbeat remembering its song. The cliffs trembled. The carved clock faces glowed faintly, their cracks filling with silver light. A wind, soft at first, stirred across the valley. Aaron lifted his head, his eyes bright for the first time. They're waking. The air grew warmer, carrying faint sounds, laughter, rain, the distant toll of a bell. But just as the rhythm began to build, the wind faltered, collapsing into stillness again. Maeve's pendulum stopped mid-swing. No, she whispered. It's not enough. The wind remembers sound, but not direction. It doesn't know where to go. Lulu stepped back, gazing at the faintly glowing sand. Then we'll show it the way. If we follow its trail, maybe we can find where the voice of the wind is trapped. Aaron nodded slowly. The Whispering Winds once had a keeper, a guardian who carried their song. If we find its echo, we can guide them home. Maeve's glass chest flickered softly. Then we follow the faintest breath. Lulu lifted her head, feeling the ghost of a breeze touch her wool. It was faint, but it was real. This way, she said, smiling. The wind just sighed. And with that, they began their climb toward the echo's source, the valley slowly exhaling behind them as if waking from a long, long sleep. The path led them along the cliffs, where the light of the half-awake valley flickered across ancient gears embedded in the stone. They turned slowly, grinding against time itself. Lulu could hear faint whispers between their movements, fragments of words, songs that had lost their endings. Aaron floated beside her, his misty fur catching glimmers of silver as he spoke. These gears once carried the voice of the wind from valley to tower. They used to hum with every turn of the clock. Maeve's glass fingertips traced one of the gears. Now they only echo the emptiness between seconds. She murmured. Lulu looked up, her wool brushing against a low-hanging chain. It trembled faintly, and from somewhere higher came a soft chime, barely there, as fragile as a sigh. They climbed toward the sound, past frozen clocks and rusted bells until they reached a small plateau. There, half buried in fallen dust and gears, stood a tall, hollow figure of brass and silver. Its frame was made of pipes and bells, shaped like a person but filled with silence. Wind once moved through its body to play melodies, but now the air inside was still. "This is the keeper of chimes," Maeve said quietly. The wind's voice was born through him. Without his song, the tower above cannot hear the wind's call. Lulu stepped closer. The metal giant loomed over her, its surface worn smooth by ages of forgotten air. "He looks like he's sleeping," she whispered. Aaron circled the figure, his form flickering brighter. "He is. The wind once danced through his heart. We must help him breathe again." Maeve knelt beside the giant's chest. Inside, faint glows pulsed, dim, irregular lights, like fading sparks of memory. "His heart is made of bells," she said, "but their threads are tangled. If we free them, the wind will remember its song." Lulu nodded firmly. "Tell me what to do." Aaron exhaled gently, his breath curling through the hollow pipes. "Each bell holds a note of time, a rhythm of the world. You'll need to hum to guide them. I'll lend my breeze, and Maeve her pulse." Maeve placed her glass hand over her glowing chest. "On 3. Lulu took a deep breath. 1, 2, 3. Her voice rose, steady and kind. Aaron's breath joined hers, weaving soft gusts through the keeper's hollow form. The bells began to stir, their tangled threads trembling. Maeve's pendulum heart pulsed faster, its glow synchronizing with the hum. Then, one by one, the bells began to ring. Each chime carried a sound of something remembered: raindrops on leaves, laughter through curtains, the creak of a door opening to dawn. The valley below brightened with every note, and the faint wind swelled into a true breeze, spiraling up through the cliffs. The keeper's eyes flickered with silver light, his great head tilted toward Lulu, a soft tone ringing from deep within. "You've woken the hours," said a voice like the tolling of distant bells. "But the whispering winds are still scattered. Without the song of all their voices, the clock tower above will remain asleep." Lulu's ears perked. "Then tell us where to find them. We'll bring them home." The keeper raised one immense hand and pointed skyward, where the stars moved faintly above the horizon. "Follow the trail of falling chimes," he said. "Each wind carries a memory. Gather them, and the hour will turn once more." As he lowered his hand, the breeze lifted around them, real, alive, playful again. Aaron smiled faintly, eyes shimmering. "We'll follow their song." Maeve brushed the dust from her knees. "Then let's bring time back to its rhythm." Lulu looked back toward the tower in the distance. The faintest glimmer of movement touched its frozen hands. "It's waiting for us," she whispered. The wind carried them higher, up winding stone steps that circled the mountain like ribbons of silver dust. For the first time, Lulu felt the air move through her wool again, cool and alive. Each gust seemed to hum faintly, a whisper of a note that didn't yet know its melody. Aaron drifted ahead, his misty tail shimmering like a comet's trail. "The chimes will guide us," he said, listening carefully. "Every gust carries a piece of the song we need." Maeve's glass feet tapped gently against the stone, each step producing a quiet tick, like a heartbeat reminding time to keep moving. "I can sense the pattern returning," she said. "The air trembles with rhythm again." As they climbed, the cliffs opened into a narrow ridge. Suspended between two peaks hung a line of ancient chimes, thousands of them forged from glass, metal, and crystal. They swayed gently in the rising wind, but their sound was faint, uneven, as if the air itself were learning how to breathe again. Lulu stared in awe. "It's beautiful, but sad," she said softly. "They sound like they've forgotten what they used to sing." Aaron brushed his misty nose against one of the chimes. "Each one remembers a different dream carried by the wind," he explained. "Some of joy, some of sorrow. Together, they form the song of the world." Maeve placed her hand on one of the larger bells. Its surface reflected the three of them: a sheep, a fox of mist, and a glass woman standing in a ribbon of light between sky and earth. "The tune is broken," she murmured. "We must give them the rhythm again." She struck her chest lightly, and her pendulum began to swing in time. Tick, tock, tick, tock. The sound echoed softly across the ridge. Aaron inhaled deeply, then exhaled through the chimes, his breath turning into a steady breeze. Lulu closed her eyes and listened. Beneath the clicks of Maeve's heart and the hum of Arin's wind, she began to sing. The sound rose gently, wrapping around the chimes like silk. At first, the instruments responded hesitantly, a few ringing in uneven bursts. Then, one by one, their tones found harmony. The air shimmered with color, pale blue, silver, gold, and the wind turned warmer, full of motion and laughter. The melody flowed from peak to peak, racing down the valleys, waking more chimes as it went. The sky rippled like a pond touched by light. Arin's eyes shone brighter. It's working. The wind spun around Lulu, tugging playfully at her ears. You're learning again, she said, smiling. Maeve looked up as the entire line of chimes began to sway in perfect rhythm. We've restored the wind's song, she said quietly. Now it will return to the Clocktower. But as the final notes faded into the distance, a shadow crossed the sky, not darkness, but stillness. The clouds above froze mid-motion, and the air turned heavy once more. Lulu's song faltered. What's happening? Arin's tail flickered. The winds are awake, but they have no home to return to. The tower's heart is still asleep. Maeve lifted her gaze toward the distant spire on the horizon. Then we must bring the song back to it, carry the wind home. The chimes continued to ring softly behind them, their music following like a blessing. Lulu looked to her friends, her wool glowing faintly in the lingering light. Let's finish what we started. Arin nodded, his voice filled with quiet pride. The hour waits for us. And with the wind now at their backs, they began their descent toward the sleeping tower, the final movement in the song that would awaken time itself. By the time they reached the square beneath the old clock tower, the sky was stirring. Threads of silver clouds unraveled, their edges glowing with the first light of dawn. The air, once heavy and still, now flowed freely again, gentle gusts brushing against Lulu's wool, lifting Maeve's glass hair like strands of light, and rippling through Arin's misty fur until he shimmered like a living breeze. The tower itself waited, tall and silent, its great hands frozen between the hours. But now the wind whispered through the cracks in its stone, searching for the voice it had forgotten. Arin looked up, eyes glowing with soft blue fire. It remembers me, he said quietly. I can feel it. Maeve stepped forward, placing her translucent palm on the base of the tower. Then speak to it, she murmured. Let it know you are still here. The fox closed his eyes. His body began to dissolve into a gentle spiral of mist, each wisp glowing like morning frost. The breeze gathered around him, carrying faint notes of the chimes they had awoken. I am Arin, he whispered, his voice blending with the air. I am the breath between seconds. I am the song that turns the hour. The clock tower answered with a long, low tone, like a bell remembering how to ring. Dust fell from its gears as the sound deepened, echoing through the streets. Lulu felt her heart swell. It's working, she said softly. Maeve smiled faintly. Not yet, but soon. She opened the small panel in her chest, revealing her pendulum heart, glowing gold and steady. The wind needs rhythm. I'll give it mine. She reached up, pressing her hand to the tower's surface. The golden light from her chest spread across the walls, tracing the outline of gears, hands, and faces long dormant. Slowly, they began to move, jerky at first, then smoother, until the great clock began to tick. Tick, tock, tick, tock. The sound spread through the air like ripples through water. The entire town seemed to exhale. Curtains stirred in windows. Bells began to ring faintly from far away. But still, the tower's great bell remained silent. Lulu took a step forward. She could feel the wind swirling around her now, warm, alive, waiting. It's missing a voice, she whispered. Arin's faint outline flickered in the air above her. Yours, Lulu. Sing for it. She nodded, closed her eyes, and began to sing not a song of words, but one of feeling. Her melody carried every sound she had heard that night: Maeve's heartbeat, Arin's wind, the echoing chimes, the rustle of the valley. Her voice rose gently, like dawn breaking across the sky. The wind joined her, flowing through the tower, spinning its gears and ringing its bells. Maeve's pendulum glowed brighter, pulsing in perfect time. Then, with a sound that shook the heavens, the great bell of the tower rang. Its chime rolled across the town, through the valleys, over the distant hills. The clock's hands began to move again, marking the return of time. The air filled with warmth, and the first sunlight spilled over the rooftops, painting everything in gold. Arin's voice echoed faintly in the wind. The whispering winds have found their home. Lulu smiled through the tears in her eyes. Then time can breathe again. Maeve turned, her glass form shimmering like a prism, and dreams will move once more. The wind swirled gently around them, carrying the scent of morning and the promise of new hours. Lulu looked up at the sky. The clouds drifted easily now, no longer frozen. The chimes in the far hills rang softly, their notes bright and whole. "Good morning," she whispered, her voice full of wonder. The tower ticked on, alive again. And as the first true breeze of the new day touched her wall, Lulu closed her eyes, smiling. The wind hummed around her like a lullaby turned inside out, no longer to put the world to sleep, but to wake it.
Now it's quiet, night is near. Drift away through stars so clear. Lulu whispers soft and bright. Sleep so well and good night. Sweetest dreams will softly flow. Lulu stays with you, you know, till we meet again, my dear. When Let your dreams keep drawing near. Till we meet again, my dear, let your dreams keep drawing